Happy New Year's, guys! First video of 2024. I hope you guys had an amazing New Year's and have amazing New Year's resolutions. New year, new you, am I right? Hello everybody! So first things first, before we start, I hope everyone had an amazing new year. I surely did. I popped some fireworks and it was a lot of fun. You know, makes me a little sad because I'm going to be graduating this year technically, so yeah, it's okay though, because you know what, this is the first video of this year. Aren't you guys excited? And we're going to start it off with, guess what? A new fan fiction that you guys voted on, and this one won, okay? Especially since this is a FNAF fanfic, which, come on, some of them are really good, and I bet this one's gonna be really good too. Anyways, today we're gonna be reading Trauma MacLeod Afton X listener up in here. Separate that Mikael, we're gonna call him Michael. Okay, so it makes more sense because I use mainly Mikael for, you know, Mikael Myers and all that. So not to get it confused, I will do my best to not do that. Got it? Anyways, the author is blue_all_barn. And it's completed and mature, so we gotta be careful, children. Anyways, let's read the summary. It all started when Henry, Emily, and William Afton started Freddie and Friends in '73. 10 years later, in 1983, Wyan's young sister, Charlotte Emily, mysteriously died. Wyan and Michael bonded over the death of their siblings. Wyan doesn't want to have anything to do with the Freddie franchise that her and Michael's dad, has made. But she's still witnessing every trauma thing within this franchise, even up to Michael's death. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Very, very interesting. Let's get into it, guys. Alright, we are in these warnings. So, first, since this is FNAF, guys, there's going to be a lot of lore, gory, gritty details mentioned. We went all the way up to Evan's death, so they're very descriptive about that. So I'm just gonna say Evan's death because the real FNAF fans know, but if you don't know, it's gonna be pretty gory and pretty descriptive. Not as descriptive as, like, you know, when other people write it, but it's still gonna be pretty descriptive. There will be a lot of deaths mentioned and grief, eating disorders, a lot of trauma going on here. To specify that trauma, revolve around abuse, mental, physical, verbal abuse. There will be alcoholics in here. Parent neglecting their child to the point where they just don't know where they are half the time, and they neglect their house as well, which causes it to be unlivable. Which you guys can just imagine how bad that can get. Self-harming in different-ish ways. The worst one I've seen so far is just cutting. So that's what it is. Bottling up things and then exploding. That's what I'm gonna call it. Bottling up and exploding. And if I have any other warnings that I forgot to warn you guys about, they will be on the screen right now. You guys have been warned. 1. 1983. And this is the author. Don't come after me for the lore. I did the research to the best of my ability. The lore is very complicated, so I don't blame you, author. We mess up at least a little. And the author also says, anyway, each chapter is going to cover the main events that happened in the FNAF games. So in almost each chapter, Wine is going to be at a different age that corresponds with that event happening. Example, Bite of 83, 13. Bite of 87, 16, etc. My dad and William Afton made their first Freddy franchise in '73, 2 years after I was born. My whole life, I was brought up with the bear and the rabbit. Then they added a chicken and a fox. There was rumors that the kids were getting killed or kidnapped, so my dad made a puppet to protect Charlie. At first, I loved the franchise, but I quickly became annoyed by it, and about 2 months ago on my 13th birthday, I began to hate it whenever Charlie died right outside those doors. There wasn't even a body, but the only thing left was her green bracelet laying on the ground. At the time, I didn't know she was killed or kidnapped. I thought she dropped it, so I picked it up to give it to her whenever I see her again. But she never came back. The bracelet remained on my wrist, and I'm not planning on taking it off. I was so messed up and traumatized that my dad sent me to a support group for having a dead sibling. First arriving, I didn't expect to see Michael Afton there. Sure, we grew up together, but we barely hung out and talked. I was very shy as a kid, and Michael didn't talk to girls. At most, we would say hey to each other. Charlie's death was around the same time that Michael's sister died, Elizabeth. I don't know much about how she died. Nobody told me. I've been going to these meetings ever since Charlie died, but this was my first time seeing Michael there. I guess it didn't affect him until now, or maybe William sent him here. Looks like we have a new member. What's your name, sir? Michael slouched in his seat, arms crossed. He looked at the sponsor with hatred in his eyes. Michael. And tell us about your sibling. You don't have to speak on the first day. Michael didn't change his expressions or his body language. He kept quiet. All right. How about you, YN? How are you dealing with your sister dying? What the? That's just straight up. Okay. Michael looked over at me. I'm guessing he just now noticed that I was here. It's still hard. I always disliked her whenever she was first born. She was an accident baby, and my mom left because she didn't want a new kid, I guess. I chuckled. My dad seemed to always prefer her over me. Maybe it's just because an older sibling thing, or maybe it's because I'm a younger teen. I don't know. But ever since she died, or kidnapped, or whatever, I feel guilty for not liking her. I wish I was nicer to her. I miss her. My voice cracked. I glanced over at Michael, who was still looking at me but with a softer expression. Once I caught him, he quickly looked away. During the 1-hour meeting, I would occasionally glance at Michael, and I could tell he wasn't listening. He was definitely zoning out. He would catch me a few times staring at him, but I would play it off by looking at the other people. After the meeting, I saw Michael speed out of there, and I quickly followed him outside of this church. He leaned against the wall with his foot propped up on it, arms still crossed. I stood beside him. The roof of this makeshift porch kept us from getting wet by the rain. I wanted to strike a conversation with him, get to know him better, and possibly help each other out to get over the mourning of our sibling's death. Do you want to ride home? Excuse me. Do you have a ride home? I finally asked. Don't know. He coldly said. Just from observing, him and his dad have a weird relationship. His dad would treat Michael right and then like utter shit. My dad can give you a ride. It's fine. He's fat. My dad pulled up into the parking lot. His high beams practically blinding us. I got into the passenger side and closed the door. My dad rolled his window down and popped his head out. Get in. Your dad can't get you. Michael rolled his eyes and said something under his breath. He walked over to the car and got in the back seat. Through the rearview mirror, Michael looked very annoyed and fed up with everything. Dad never asked me about the support group. I know he cares, but I'm assuming he doesn't want to get reminded of Charlie. We slowly pulled up to the Afton's house. Dad turned around and looked at Michael. Stay safe. He turned back around. I waved goodbye to Michael as he closed the door. He saw me, but didn't wave back. Just kept walking slowly in the rain to his front door. Months later, William made a new franchise since the last one got shut down because of the whole missing kids thing. My dad didn't want any part of it because he was still mourning over Charlie. Since I can't stand being at my own house and watching my dad cry and get drunk every night, I would go over to Michael's. We became closer because of the support group. Him and I would always see each other over there and talk about the stupidest things ever. It was easier since we both grew up together, and the fact that both of our siblings died. He doesn't seem that much affected by it, but then again, he doesn't ever talk about it. I don't talk about it either, not with him at least. Sure, I speak up to the group, but deep down, it absolutely destroyed me in my perception of life and death. My dad ended up making it worse by seeing him drunk all the time, not once checking up on me. I arrived at Michael's house and knocked on the door. A couple seconds later, his dad, who was very unsettling, opened the door. Why, hello, YN. Here to see Michael again? He smiled, but it didn't look genuine. Yeah, that's all right. He opened the door wider to let me in. I quickly went to Michael's room and knocked on the door. I could hear him getting up from his chair to open it. Hey. He let me in, then proceeded to close the door again. He sat down in his rolly chair, and I sat on the edge of his bed that was across from him. How's your brother? I broke the silence. He's running off to the new diner every night. So me and my dad have been scaring him so he won't go there without one of us being there. He is terrified, that's for sure. Mike laughed, taking out a flask from the pocket of one of his jogger shorts. Every time I see him, he's always a bit tipsy. It reminds me of my dad. I don't like it when I see Michael drunk for that very reason. But I can't tell him that. I don't want him to be mad at me because he's all I got for right now. By the way, he took another swig. Are you going to go to Evan's birthday party? Is it going to be at Fredbear's Diner? Yeah, why? Isn't he going to be scared of it? Since you keep scaring him? He'll get over it. You coming? I guess so. I really don't like going over there anymore. Me too. She gets boring real quick. He chuckled. I glanced over to my right and saw a foxy mask on his floor. You like foxy? I nudged my head towards that direction. Yeah, I like pirates. I use that to scare Evan. Dad uses something else to scare him, but I forgot what it was. You should scare him too. I'll pass on that. I laughed. Fine, be boring. Michael's door quickly opened. William standing underneath the doorway. Leave this door open, he sternly said. I never liked William. He was too unsettling for me. The way his voice is and the way he carries himself gives me the creeps, but I never told Michael that. We're not dating, Mike said out of annoyance. Don't care. Michael flipped William off once he was out of sight. I stayed over at his house for a couple of hours. We talked, but we don't ever get into deep conversations, and I kind of like it that way. I don't want him to know that I'm deeply traumatized from the loss of my sister, because it looks like Michael is coping as well. Coping well, excuse me. But like I said, he doesn't talk about it either. I'm going to head out. I'm good to come over tomorrow? Sure. Make sure to scare Evan on your way out. I rolled my eyes and left his room. I decided to use the bathroom since it was a 15-minute walk back to my house. Whenever I left the bathroom, I saw Evan on the floor crying. Michael was wearing his foxy mask and was laughing at him. I wanted to stop him, but this is way more of a family thing, so I didn't. What a stupid decision. What a dumb decision. Oh, goodness. Anyway, William drove me, Michael and Evan, to his party. I was in the back seat with a crying child. He did not want to go to this place, so he just kept crying on the way there while William kept telling him to shut up. I was in charge of keeping Evan company while his dad and brother was decorating the dining room with birthday stuff. Evan was still crying, so I got down on his level. It's going to be okay. Your older brother is just a douchebag. Don't repeat that word. I laughed. Evan was choked up in his tears. The animatronics are going to kill me. The irony in that. I wiped his tears with my hand. They're not gonna kill you. They're not alive. It's just one big suit filled with metal. It's all fake. I gave him a comforting smile. Evan nodded his head, trying to smile with me. William opened the dining room door. He's good to come in. I walked with Evan to the dining room. All of his friends was there, and the place had party hats on the table. I picked one up and put it on my head, and I picked another one up and I put it on Evan. He was clinging onto me, still very frightened of the place. It's going to be okay. Look, isn't that your friends? He nodded and let go of me, waving to his friends as he made his way over there. I looked around to find Michael, and I saw him with his friends wearing different masks. Mike was still wearing his Foxy mask, and then his other friends were wearing a Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy mask. I wanted to hang out with Michael, but I didn't know his friends, and I don't know if Michael wants me over there with his friends. I sat at a table and was observing this place. I was very shy when I was little, and hardly talked to anyone, so all I could do was observe. I saw Michael rushing over to his brother and picking him up. Put me down! Evan started crying again. Oh, come on, Freddie wants to give you a kiss. Mike taunted his little brother. Hearing that made me remember a memory I had with my dad. William decided to put spring lots in the suits that make them wearable and make them move on their own. I kept telling him that they will puncture you if it gets wet, but he won't listen. Dad told me, observing the Freddy animatronic. I stood up from my chair and rushed over to them once I saw what Mike was doing. Michael, please put me down, Evan screamed. Michael, don't put Evan in there. There's a chance it's going to puncture him. I'm being serious. I grabbed a hold of Michael's arm. His friends were making fun of me. Relax. Freddie wants to give him a big kiss. He looked at me, and although I could barely see his lips, he was smirking. In an instant, Freddie's mouth closed in. At first, it didn't close all the way down. Evan's screams could be heard from miles away. My jaw dropped as I watched Evan struggling. None of them helped him out. None of us helped him out. We were too shell-shocked. And even if we tried, I don't think it would work. In an instant, Freddie's mouth closed all the way, crushing Evan's skull. Blood splattered onto me, Michael, and some of his friends. Everything and everyone was silent. I could only hear the air conditioning running. My eyes didn't leave Evan's body, as I saw it dangling from Freddie's mouth. 30 minutes ago, I told Evan that they can't kill you, and here I am, blood all over me, watching Evan dangle from the animatronic's mouth. I felt someone grab my arm and pull me out of the way harshly. I saw William grab Michael's arm and walk towards the corner of the diner. His dad raised a fist and punched Michael straight in the jaw, his Foxy mask flying off and him falling to the floor. I overheard his dad yelling at him. I scanned the room and parents were taking their kids out of there. One parent was calling 911, and when she hung up the cord phone, she left. It was just us three and a dead body alone in the dining room. I was shell-shocked. My eyes were wide open, and I had to force myself to walk away from the dead kid. I sat in the corner that was parallel to the corner of William and Michael. I saw the flashing image in my head once more. Then finally I sobbed. I could say it reminded me of my sister. Or I could say it was traumatizing watching a kid die. Both reasons are true. But what killed me the most was for the past months of going over to the Adams house. I've grown closer to Evan as well. He would always greet me, show me his new toys, and lets me comfort him whenever he's sad or scared. It was like losing a sibling all over again. Oh shit. But I can't be sad about that. He's not my real sibling. It's Michael's sibling, and he witnessed him getting crushed. I forced myself to stop crying and let I look over at Mike. He was laying on the floor, slowly trying to get up. William pried open Freddie's mouth and caught his son, rocking him back and forth on the ground. Michael finally got up and looked over at me, bruises already forming on his face and arms. He saw I was crying and in shock, but he walked over to his dad, mourning with him over their dead family member. I wanted to be comforted, but I know I shouldn't because he lost 2 siblings in 1 year, and he has a crappy dad with no mom. I pulled my knees to my chest. Seeing that there's blood on my jeans, I closed my eyes so I wouldn't have to see all the blood. I heard sirens in the distance, letting me know that this was real. Wow. Just wow. Damn. 2. 1984. William and Dad still talk to each other every once in a while, both refusing to talk about their dead kids, also refusing to talk about their live ones. Apparently, William told Dad that Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria shut down and that William opened up a Circus Baby Entertainment and Rentals. Why did he make a new one? I said, biting into my toast. Finding other places to rent out animatronics, I guess. He sighed. He still hasn't changed since the incident. It's upsetting how the 1-year anniversary of her death is coming up. It's upsetting, excuse me. I don't even see it as my birthday anymore. Henry kept refilling his cup with whatever liquor he could find. We were becoming lower class since he quit his job and refused to get another one. But him and William are besties, so Henry's name is still on the contract. So we will get part of the money that comes from the franchise. It's actually sweet of William to do that. Is it alright if I head over to Michael's? How come you guys don't come here? He said, swirling his words a little bit. I just kept silent. It's me, isn't it? He chuckled. I knew it. Yeah, go on. Thanks. Love you. Love you too, he said, as I walked out the front door. After walking for 15 minutes, I arrived at the Aftons, and just like yesterday, I could see Williams yelling at Michael, every once in a while slapping him. Their relationship definitely gotten worse over this past year. Mike would always have bruises on his face and arms. He won't talk much about it. He doesn't ever talk about his feelings, to be honest. Maybe it's just a 14-year-old thing to do, but I have no idea on what Michael's feeling or about anything. There's a surface level of him not liking his dad, him being sad about his sister and brother, but what exactly is he feeling? I don't know why I keep thinking about it. I just want to know. Do I know I developed a small crush on him? I do know I just developed a small crush on him, but I won't ever tell him because he's just not a feeling type of guy. I knocked on the door, interrupting their discord. William opened it and glared at me. Go away. He started to close the door, but I stopped it. Can I hang out with Michael? We can hang out somewhere else. William scoffs and tells Michael that I'm here. I'll awkwardly wait for Michael to get up from the floor. He walked over through the door and closed it, looking down at me. If you see my dad beating my ass again, just turn around, he said, leading me to an alley that we would hang out sometimes at. But that's really sad. I know, I just get worried, you know. Don't, he said coldly. Once we made it to the alleyway, I laid my book back down on the wet ground, and he sat on my English. Once we made it to the alleyway, I laid my book back down on the wet ground and sat on it so my pants wouldn't get soaked. Michael sat down beside me, not caring about getting wet, and pulled out a cigarette and a lighter from his pocket. He lit it and breathed in the tobacco and nicotine, then exhaling. He started smoking about a month ago after Evan died. He would let me occasionally take a couple of puffs from it, but I don't really like doing it because Charlie once caught me smoking and she cried. It's been a whole year since Elizabeth died, he said, breaking the silence. And for Charlotte, right? I didn't want him to talk about her. Yeah. My voice cracked a bit. I rubbed the green bracelet that was on my wrist. I still blame myself for Evan's death. Thought it would be a funny prank, he chuckled. Nope. Lost a brother that day and lost my friends. I didn't know about the friends part. Don't blame yourself. You didn't know what was going to happen. You can always talk to me. I suck at advice, but I'm a good comforter. I don't need comfort. Michael is very hard to understand. It's like he puts up this fake personality that doesn't have any emotion. And the moment he expresses it, like he regrets it or something. But I can't tell if he actually wants to talk about it or just forget it. You witnessed that, right? You were telling me to stop. Just like Michael, I tried not to think about that day. I feel bad for saying this, but that was way worse than my sister disappearing because I witnessed a child dying. A very gory death. Worst part was that he died thinking about the suit, that the suit wouldn't kill him because I told him that. I did. I whispered, did it traumatize you? His tone wasn't cold. It felt genuine and warm. I think so. Every night I would have dreams that my sister was the one up there, or me, or you, or sometimes it replays the same event over and over and over again. For about 3 months I barely slept because I didn't want to dream about it. I remember taking several Adderall every night so I wouldn't go to sleep. I rambled. I remember that. You looked rough as hell. Not gonna lie, I was kind of worried. He brought the cigarette back to his lips and huffed it. You were? Yeah. He breathed out. God, I'm a 7 man. And Elizabeth, but I killed Evan, so it's worse. You didn't kill him. The springs lock went into failure. That's what killed him. Michael looked at me confused. That suit had spring locks? Did you know about this before I killed Evan? He raised his voice a bit. Yeah, my dad told me a while back before Evan's birthday. That's why I was stopping you. I tried to tell you. You didn't tell me shit. All I remember was you kept telling me to put him down. Michael stood up. I'm telling the truth. I said don't put him in there because there's a chance the spring locks are going to go into failure. You probably didn't hear me because of Evan screaming. Oh, wow, sir. Now you're saying it's my fault? It's my fault because I didn't hear you because of screaming? So now after comforting me, you remind me that I didn't hear you try to save Evan's life because of his screams? So pick. Is it my fault or not my end? You started to walk away, but then walked back to me, getting down on my level since I was still sitting down. You have no idea what I'm dealing with right now. He walked off again. He blew up on me. Kept his anger in for so long, I made him snap. I don't know if it was a good thing for him to snap, but I do know that I just single-handedly ruined our friendship. At least I think we were friends. Or maybe he was only hanging out with me to distract himself. I kept rubbing Charlie's bracelet on my wrist. It felt like hard plastic. But when you rubbed up and down your wrist, it creates friction, causes redness and pain. It helped me cope. But I won't ever use those things. I just want slight pain to get me by. And I don't want to deal with wounds and scars and all that. I wish I told Michael that I was afraid that I'm going to witness more traumatizing things. Nothing is going to happen most likely, but with just 3 deaths within 2 months, all tied to the stupid Bear franchises and the missing children accusations, I can't help but be in fear. Girl, that is valid right there. 3. 1984, Michael. Michael and I didn't talk to each other for a week straight. I stopped coming to his house because I'm afraid he's going to snap at me again. But staying at my house gives me intense anxiety. It still feels unreal to me that she's gone. I used to hear her laugh and be loud. Sometimes I would tell her to shut up because she got on my nerves. But she's gone. Dad is still drinking, still mourning over her death. Sometimes I would feel guilty that I'm not mourning over her correctly. But then again, I cry almost every night, wishing that she's going to come back. Since I don't go to Michael's anymore, I've been spending most of my days at that alleyway, just sitting in my thoughts. Not a great distraction, but it's better than being at that lonely home. I heard footsteps from the distance, and I turned my head, seeing Michael walk towards me. I stood up and grabbed my book bag, getting ready to leave so I won't have to deal with Michael. Where are you going? I turned around and saw a cigarette in his mouth. Just figured you want some alone time. I yelled back so he could hear me. Just come back, he said nonchalantly. I don't know what Michael's feeling. One moment, it looks like he doesn't want to be around me, and the next moment, he does. I walked over to him, and instead of sitting, I just stood there with him. You haven't been coming around, he said, taking a puff. I thought you were mad at me. I was just letting off some steam. Sorry about all that, though. It's okay, I understand. Why do you always act like that? Like, what? I don't know. It's hard to explain. Well, now I'm intrigued, so you gotta spit it out. I laughed. I don't know, man. A people pleaser? Pushover? He said, taking another puff and offering it to me. I shook my head no. That sounds like a bad thing. I laughed. It's whatever. I don't see it as a bad thing. It's just who you are. He tapped the cigarette so the ashes would fall. So you don't smoke anymore? I know you used to. You would sit behind the pizzeria and smoke. My sister caught me and she cried. Once she died, I stopped. It's like her dying wish. Oh. How are you anyways? I raised my eyebrow. You literally never asked me that question. I got some thinking done during this week. He laughed, putting his hands up in defense. I realize I've been a bitch to you sometimes, and you've been through a lot. You comforted me, so now I'm here. I appreciate it. Let's see. There was no body of my sister, so there's a chance she's alive, and nobody's looking for her. That really hurts. My dad is constantly drinking and quit his job, but thankfully your dad is giving us money from the pizzeria. And before your brother died, I told him that the animatronics can't kill you, and well, it did. Fuck, I didn't mean to say all that. When I get nervous, I tend to ramble. Holy shit, man. He took another puff, then dropped it on the ground and smushed it with his foot. Sorry about my brother. I should say sorry. He was your brother. Yeah, but you treated him like he was yours. Every day you would hang out with him after hanging out with me. Yeah, I guess so. I'm gonna go head off now. I've gotta take care of my dad. I rolled my eyes. Let me come with you. Will your dad care if I'm over? It's best not to go. The house is a mess and he's drinking and it's just a bad idea. So we're both fucked up, huh? Michael said. Yeah, I chuckled. But we can't get fucked up even more. I still didn't tell him the extent of how much it traumatized me. Every little thing will remind me of both of those events. Memories are flooding into my brain, feeling like I'm witnessing it all over again. 4. 1987. TY. Talks about eating disorders, but YN doesn't have one. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria opened up again. You would think they would just completely shut the whole thing down, but for some reason William kept making new ones. I'm not close to him at all. I only know him and his business because of Michael, and occasionally my dad, who has gotten worse. The green bracelet on my wrist was getting tighter because I've been gaining a bit of weight. In order to take off the bracelet, I would have to cut it, and I definitely don't want to do that, so I've been skipping meals to get my weight back down. It's not exactly an eating disorder. Once I get down to a weight that the bracelet won't be tight, then I'll start eating and maintaining that weight. I don't think that's how it works, but okay. Like, exactly how it works, but okay. Michael and I met at our usual spot. We started calling it the Mitch YN way because we're always there, complaining that our dads and talk about shit about people at school. How's your dad? Michael says, sliding his back on the brick wall until he reaches the ground. I sat down beside him, now not caring about my pants getting wet. Still drinking, but I can't exactly complain because he's not beating me up. Kinda just neglecting. I laughed. Still, that's gotta suck. Michael has changed a lot within these past 3 years. His hair has gotten longer and his face matured. He's also getting some muscle, which is attractive on him, not gonna lie. The crush I had developed when I was 13 grew. I don't think I've fallen in love with him because I just don't see myself dating him. He's just attractive to me, that's all. What about your dad? He laughed, almost as he was mocking his dad. Dude got fired. What? Why? Take a wild guess. Missing kids? Bingo. Dude, your dad has the baddest luck out there. Did they shut down the place? No, actually, it's still up and running for business, but he had to, resign or something because of the missing kids thing. That got me thinking. Don't get mad, but do you think he's guilty? I don't know, man. I don't think he has the time for it, to be honest. He's either constantly working or constantly beating me. He laughed, but I could tell it hurt him. Sorry about that. Don't be sorry. Anyway, Jeremy, I think that's his name, is now working day shift and the night position is open. So I'm going to take it. Why? Aren't you guys pretty wealthy? Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to work. Besides, I'm tired of this whole missing kids thing, but I'm going to see if I can find any clues. I bursted out laughing. Why are you laughing? Because you sound like Sherlock. I couldn't contain my laughter. I saw him smile a bit, but went back to his usual face. I'm being serious. I don't like my dad that much, but I don't want him to have a bad reputation, so I'm going to crack this one out. His reasoning made me question his motives. For the past 3 years, he constantly tells me that he hates his dad. Like, really, really hates him. So why is he trying to prove his dad is innocent? I saw Michael staring at the bracelet in my arms. You losing weight? He said, taking a cigarette out of his pocket. I don't think so. I shrugged it off, not wanting to carry on this conversation anymore. Oh, no, are you bulimic? He said in an annoyed, sarcastic way. Oh, God, no. I'm just exercising, that's all. Dude, I exercise and I don't lose weight that fast. Well, you're lifting weights, right? Yeah, I guess you're right. Thank God I could shut down the conversation. You're not that fat, by the way. He said, taking a puff. Dude, drop it. See, you're shutting down the conversation. That means you're a bulimic or an anorexic. I'm being serious, Michael. I looked at him in his eyes. His eyes softened and went back to staring at the other wall that was across from us. So I start the shift tonight. That's good. Don't get murdered. I joked, but I knew there was still a chance. Yeah. I'm gonna head out now and possibly smoke weed. I know you don't do that stuff, so see ya. Yeah, you're right. I should go check on my dad, make sure he didn't kill himself. You really think he will? One way or another, he might. Anyway, see you tomorrow? Sure thing, he said before walking away. I headed back home and saw my dad was actually wearing clothes. Whoa, where are you going? Just trying to distract myself, so I'm taking a walk. That's good. I'm proud. Dad looked over at the bracelet, then back at me, frowning. Are you ever going to take that off? Dad, she's my sister. I want to wear it till I die. I'm not ever taking it off. It's hers, YN. I don't think she would want you wearing that. No, she wouldn't want me wearing that because it reminds you of her. Don't do that, he said, taking his glasses off. He usually does that whenever he's pissed. So I just left the conversation and went to my room, sliding the bracelet up and down to cope. Next day, I went over to Michael's house since it was raining. Originally, I told him over the phone that we didn't have to hang out, but he wanted to. I ran in the rain over to his house and knocked on his door, hoping it was Michael who opened the door, but it was his dad. Hello, Ann. Haven't seen you in a while. Michael's in his room. Thanks. Surprisingly, he didn't kick me out. I made my way over to his room. Oh, shiz. And his door was already open, so I just walked in. Hey, I said, standing because I didn't want his bed to be wet. Did you walk here? I ran. How was the job? Funny story, he started. I got fired. Damn, on the first day? What did you do? I laughed, picking up his remote and turning the TV on for tampering with the animatronics. The TV both caught our attention. Breaking news. Another incident happened at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Just about an hour ago, a worker named Jeremy Fitzgerald got bit by an animatronic malfunction. He's currently in the hospital. We will keep you guys updated. And then the news went over to the weather. Michael and I exchanged glances. Does your dad know? I whispered. I don't think he watches the news anymore, Mike whispered back. Was this on purpose or an accident? Probably an accident. That guy was always clumsy. You know him? He was the one who was training me, Mike laughed. After I was dried from the rain, I sat on Michael's bed while he was sitting in his chair. Gives me a deja vu of whenever I first came over here. Did your dad kill himself? Mike broke the silence. What? Yesterday you said that you were going home to make sure your dad didn't kill himself or something. Oh yeah, well, he's still alive, thank God. But his parenting is shittier. I didn't want to cry. I didn't want to cry in front of him. What do you mean? You know, he's a drunk dad and they neglect their kids sometimes. Yeah, he always done that. You know his parenting is shittier. Excuse me, you said his parenting is shittier. So what happened yesterday? He got mad at me for wearing Charlie's bracelet. It reminds him of her, and he constantly focused on her. He never asked how I'm feeling or what I'm up to these days. He's constantly shutting himself out. I figured once Charlie's gone, he will focus on me, but nope. I started to tear up, but I wiped my eyes before Michael could see. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was that bad. He doesn't hit me, so it could be worse. Yeah, but that still sucks. And you don't have to use that excuse anymore. He stopped hitting me. In an instant, I broke down. I tried to keep my cries silent, but it wasn't. Michael quickly closed the door and sat beside me on his bed, one arm on my back, lightly patting it. Neither of us said anything. I just couldn't stop crying. Crying about Charlie, crying about watching Evan die, crying about me being neglected by my own dad. I shouldn't even cry, I said, wiping my eyes and my nose with my sleeve. You bottled it up for so long, though. This is my first time seeing you cry like this, he laughed. Sorry you had to see it. Trust me, it's all good. He stopped touching my back. You feeling any better? I guess. Not really, to be honest. I've been traumatized since I was 13. Everything reminds me of her or of Evan, and I shouldn't be sad about Evan because he's your brother. Girls like, blood is thicker than water. Dude, I told you so many times that you saw him like one. You loved him just as much as I did. It doesn't matter that I lost 2 siblings. Your pain is still pain. I looked over at him. He gave a soft, comforting smile. Ryan, it's not gonna get any worse, okay? You gotta believe me. 5. 1987. YN. For the past couple of days, I've been isolating myself in my depression room. Trash overfilling the trash can. Dirty and clean clothes scattered everywhere. In fact, this whole house is a depression room. It won't surprise me if we have roaches. I kept getting a phone call, assuming it's Michael, but as of right now, I don't feel like answering it. Now it's been 4 years since Charlie died, and nothing changed. I thought by the time I was 17, everything would go back to normal, but it wasn't. Dad is still drinking, sometimes to the point of blacking out. His name is still on the contract, so he's still getting some profit from the franchise. That's the only plus of this whole situation. I'm angry at myself for not getting over her death. It still feels very new to me, like her death happened yesterday. The bracelet was no longer tight on me, but I don't feel like eating again. Not in an eating disorder way, just in a regular, I don't feel like eating way. Okay. YN? Dad slurred. Michael is here. Michael, what does he want? I got out of my bed and looked at myself through the mirror that's in my room. My hair was messy and I was still in my PJs at 4 p.m. I walked down the hall into the living room and saw Michael standing in the doorway. My dad standing beside the door in his underwear and a vodka bottle in his hand. I pushed past my dad and closed the door so the both of us would be outside. I crossed my arms trying to cover up my boobs since I was only wearing a tank top with no bra. What? I said, staring into his blue eyes. Just wanted to see if you wanted to hang out. It's your birthday, you know. I was hoping he was here to check up on me, or to see if I'm alive since we went 3 days with no contact. Don't remind me it's my birthday and no thanks. Oh, come on, we can get out of my place. My dad isn't home. I cocked an eyebrow. Not like that, Jesus. He rolled his eyes. Come on, I got a new video game for the PlayStation. I really don't want to hang out. He was stunned. Usually whenever he asked to hang out, I'm always saying yes. Michael took my hand into his and forced me to walk with him, then letting go of my hand. You're going to play this game. I groaned. Dude, I feel like utter shit right now. Shit, I don't care. Get me sick. Not like that. He walked slower, glancing over to me. Charlotte? Yeah, I whispered. Elizabeth died 4 years ago on Monday. I bet their spirits are playing around. Michael let out small, sad laughter. I bet they are. The rest of the walk was silent. Eventually we made it to the house. I really just glitched out. Eventually we made it to his house and went over to his room. Michael shutting the door. He was setting up his gaming console as I sat in my usual spot on his bed. His closet door was opened and I could see the Foxy mask laying on the floor with blood on it. He never cleaned it. The clothes I had on when Evan died is in the trash. I didn't want to look at them. Didn't want to wear them again. When Michael was setting up the console on the floor, he would occasionally look up at me, then back down to it. You gotten skinnier. Nonchalantly, he said, but had a hint of disappointment in his voice. So, eat something. Don't feel like it. He looked back up at me, but with a deadpan expression. Why do you even care? I spat. Because I care about you. The moment he said that, he made a oh shit face, like he wasn't supposed to have feelings. I quickly changed the subject. Aw, you do? I taunted him. No, I only hang out with you so I don't have to think about the time I killed my brother. I was definitely not expecting that answer. Really? Well, if that's the case, was he just using me? And that we're not actually friends? Or are we friends, but only because I'm a distraction? Just never mind. Cold-heartedly, he said. I didn't say anything. Just laid down on his bed and stared up at the ceiling above us. Look, I'm sorry, okay? What I said was only partially true. I do care about you. At first, I only hung out with you because it distracted me from my sister. But then it distracted me from my brother. I cared about you the whole time, but that's the reason I hang out with you. What about now? Are you using me? I'm not using you, Jesus. I genuinely like being around you. I'm almost thanking you for being here. That did make me feel a little better, but he does not know how to communicate his feelings. Whenever you didn't pick up the phone or knock on my door or see you in the Mick YN way, I was worried. I smiled softly. You don't need to worry about me. 30 minutes ago, you told me you felt like shit. I'm kind of worried. He snickered. Yeah, but me complaining isn't going to fix it. I see red marks on your wrist from that bracelet. Something is up, he said with a sly smile. The console was set up, and he was looking up at me, legs kind of spread and his two arms holding him up. I look over to that wrist, and indeed it was pretty red of me scraping myself with it. It's a plastic bracelet. They do that. I'm not stupid. Sometimes I get overwhelmed, that's all. It's coping. You do that emo shit? God, no. I know what you mean, but I'm disappointed. Michael looked a bit disappointed. What if you see somebody do that? He said, having a look of shame. I'll comfort them, tell them not to do that. Do you know? My voice got quieter. He anxiously looked around his room, almost avoiding contact. Sometimes. Holy shit, dude. I got down on the floor with him. Since his leg was apart, I was in between them on my knees, not paying attention that I am between his legs. It's all good, trust me, I'm fine. I didn't believe him. I wanted to ask, when did this happen, and why, but I feel like that was too much for him. I'm here for you, okay? I said, wanting to put my hand on the side of his face, but I just kept it to myself. Hey, yeah, I know. He shrugged it off, looking away. He opened his mouth like he was going to say something, but closed it. His eyes glazed back. His eyes gazed back onto me, then down at my chest, then back at my eyes. Confused, I looked down, then saw my boob almost... I literally hate you guys for me reading this right now. Not you guys that voted, just the damn story. So that my boob was almost out of this my tank top. I placed both of my hands on top of my chest. Were you looking? I smiled, trying to change the mood. I can't help it, man. They're kind of in my face, and you're not wearing a bra. I scoffed playfully and stood up, placing myself back on the bed, but this time laying down. Mike stood up as well and just sat at the end of the bed where my feet were. Even though we both don't want to admit it, but we're both deeply traumatized because of that stupid franchise that our dads made, Michael said, slightly laughing. Don't remind me of my dad. Also sorry that you had to see him like that and see our house as a literal mess. It kind of hurt me, seeing the living conditions that you're in. Well, yeah, it's whatever. If you want, you can come spend the night here. My dad probably won't even know since he barely talks to me. Same, and I'll think about it. I had butterflies in my stomach since I caught him looking at my boobs, and him saying that made it worse. I feel like this is going to be a mistake, falling in love with somebody that has a trauma bond with you. That's probably not the best idea, but, yeah, I don't even know what to say. Anyways, guys, oh, I smacked my phone, sorry, guys. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna have to cut it off here, because, Jesus, that, it's just getting more interesting, the more I read, but at the same time, I'm like, why y'all making me read? Why do they have to write it like that? Like, I'm here just like, Anyways, guys, how are you guys enjoying the story so far? Do you like it? Is it interesting? And, I'm just glad they didn't get too... Are you just guys glad that they didn't get too deep with the very specification of the Bloods and Gore bits of Evan's death? Like, they got into it, but not, like, into it. Does that make sense? Like, they could have said a whole lot more words to describe what exactly happened there, but they, like, kind of, like, they didn't wham through it, but described it just enough for you to understand just how bad it was, but it could have been much worse, because I've seen some fanfics just deeply describe it, and you're just there like, I don't want to know about that, but thank goodness, just thank goodness. I will definitely be warning about this in the very beginning, so yeah, you probably guys are already been warned by it. I'm just saying it right now because I'm like, because it's in there. Anyways, guys, I'm sad. I'm really sad that I have to cut this short, but I hope you guys did enjoy it, though. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. For some side notes, I am getting a new pair of glasses. Yes, I am. I'll get them soon. I'm just super excited for them, so I can't wait to get them. I'll make like a whole little video about it so you guys can see it too, because I know you guys would love it. And yeah, guys, I just wanted to let y'all know. So anyways, your girl's gotta go. Bye and peace, y'all.